So I'm going to talk to you about how AI and the future of digital textbooks might intersect in the future. So the take-home messages that I want you to leave with today are, first, if we simply change the medium of presentation, that does not necessarily guarantee that the students are going to learn better. And the way it makes sense in the context of textbooks is that if you see what's happening in the industry today, people take a paper textbook, they turn that into PDF or some kind of HTML presentation and put it on an iPad, and they claim that they have made a huge progress in learning. It doesn't quite happen that way, as the previous research has shown. My second take-home message for you is that an intelligent textbook is a textbook that relies on knowledge representation and reasoning in a way that the book now knows the subject matter. It has a deep fundamental understanding of what is in the book. And I'll illustrate that using examples during my talk. And finally, we have built a prototype of such an intelligent textbook, and we have tested it in some preliminary trials, and we found that this kind of approach indeed leads to improved learning. And in the initial trial that we ran, we found it to improve the learning by 1 full letter grade. So I'll start off by just speculating a little bit about where we see the education going, then tell you more about intelligent textbooks, and also talk about where our project is headed. So this is a prediction by one of the futurists that by 2030, the students will learn from robot teachers 10 times faster than they learn today, right? That's really essentially what we want. We want the students to be able to learn deeper and faster. And it's also predicted that several years from now, the largest internet company will actually be an education company. I mean, these days it's a search company or a phone company, but in 2030, it'll be education company, because a lot of the education or most of the education would happen online. And in 2030, the teachers are going to be bots. Again, this is speculation, who will not only know the students, but they will also know the subject matter that they're teaching. Okay. In the recent years, we have seen a lot of boom in AI, and using machine learning or deep learning type approaches, we have been successful in building programs that can win and play games like AlphaGo, or they can answer lots of questions, for example, on a Jeopardy quiz show. Computers seem to be very well at doing that. And we expect that the education bots of 2030 that we are envisioning, they will learn, they will build on the successes of today, right? They will leverage machine learning, and they will learn how to teach faster and faster over a period of time. They will also be able to learn a student's interests and reference points, and they'll be able to personalize the lessons to different students. Using the techniques that we have today, we know that the bots will be able to learn the students really well. Okay? But AI is not good at certain things, right? Which not a lot of people talk about. The first is that AI has not mastered the subtleties of language, thought, and reasoning. And if we continue to keep pushing on machine learning and keep looking for a better horse, suddenly AI is not going to start understanding subtleties of language. So, for example, we work in the domain of biology, and in biology there are two words, stoma and stroma. They are very similar to each other in terms of spelling, but completely different meanings. And those are the fine distinctions that our machine learning algorithms of today, they miss out on. The current day AI has also not grasped social interaction. One of the things that is fundamental to social interaction is our ability to have a common language and our ability to arrive at an unambiguous understanding of what we are talking about. And the current AI systems, they are not completely good at doing such a thing. So in that context, our effort on intelligent textbook is aimed at creating and leveraging an AI that knows. And I'll say more about that. So essentially, we are trying to create digital textbook that understand the subject matter, and they help the students integrate and apply science concepts. And we are working in the domain of biology, and we are driven by the immediate education challenges that students in the introductory biology courses face. In a first course on biology at the college level, there's a huge new vocabulary that needs to be learned. Concepts are interrelated in complex ways, but they are taught in a linear manner, chapter after chapter. The current approaches don't work very well. People just take what they have and they resort to videos and online forums, like we've seen in Coursera. Or, as I mentioned earlier, there is superficial porting of textbooks to electronic form. They don't do anything to address these key problems in teaching biology. So in our approach, what we do is we start from a textbook. We take the textbook, we create knowledge representation from this textbook and create a knowledge base, and then we use that knowledge base to answer a variety of questions. So in the diagram that you're seeing here, the nodes and edges, they have certain labels, they define controlled vocabulary, they come from a very well-designed, thought out ontology based on which this model is curated. Because the because the computer or the textbook has access to such a model, it knows what's in the book. So our goals have been to create a knowledge representation of our textbook in a way that we can use it for answering questions, and not just that, create a platform technology that we can apply to a wide variety of textbooks. And we hope that by doing this, by 2030, we will have an ultimate digital tutor which will be capable of deep inquiry and dialogue. It will also have precise student modeling so that it can pinpoint gaps in student understanding, and it will be able to engage students, and it will be as addictive as a computer game. The two imagined use cases that we have for such a device are reading and homework problem solving. So reading is a big problem. Science textbooks are complicated and they're difficult to understand, and our electronic textbook will help them engage in active reading based on these reading strategies such as predicting, asking, connecting, and explaining. The book will be able to connect concepts coming from different areas of the book. It will be able to explain various science concepts. The book will also help the students in homework problem solving. It will especially focus on reducing the need to memorize. It will automatically compute comparisons between different concepts. It will take complicated problems and break them into simpler problems so that students have easier time understanding those problems. So we have a prototype of such a book that we tested during a day-long trial. And this chart here shows how our prototype currently performs. And the three conditions here are the intelligent book, the pure electronic book, and the paper book. The blue bar here is the electronic book. The red bar here is the conventional electronic book, and the green bar here is the paper textbook. From here, you can see that the students who were using our intelligent textbook, they were getting much higher grades. The difference was approximately 1 full letter grade. So what we are doing right now is we are focusing on generalizing the results that I showed you. Our current experiment on which I showed you the results, the experiment lasted only 1 day, and we are focusing on expanding that so that we run this study in the context of an actual classroom. We are also expanding the scope of the textbook. We are currently focusing on working the working on expanding the scope of the book from cell biology to physiology. And we are also working on improving the underlying AI technology so that we can construct the book faster and cheaper, and we can have better representation and knowledge authoring for the book. So I'd like to conclude with these take-home messages that I showed you earlier, and I'm happy to answer any questions.